Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she is the reason she isn't pretty? The other day, I, 20F, was having a conversation with my little sister, 17F. The conversation went towards discussing pretty privilege, and she went on a rant talking about how unfair it is, and if that she was prettier she would be popular and have a boyfriend. Now this upset me, because my little sister is super lucky. She is naturally blonde, has a beautiful face, is very thin even though she eats a lot of junk food, and her boobs and butt are huge. However, she's a complete slob. She dresses in very baggy clothing, doesn't wear makeup, her hair is a mess and she often smells bad because she doesn't shower much. She also has acne. I know that isn't her fault, but I used to have bad acne and I found out how to get rid of it, but when I suggest this to her, she just ignored it. I told her that the reason she isn't pretty is because she doesn't put any effort into her appearance. She got mad at me and stormed off. I know that nobody should be obligated to look nice, but it just upset me to hear her complain about her appearance, considering her circumstances. However, I'm starting to think what I said was a bit insensitive. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Your phrasing could have been just a tad gentler, but you really didn't do anything wrong here. But instead of, the reason you're not pretty, you could have said, the reason people don't realize you're pretty. See how the phrasing changes the tone of how it might be received? I'm gonna go not the a-hole just because not showering is actually horrible. Baggy clothes and no makeup is fine honestly, but the messy hair and smell is, yeah, she's mad now, but Jesus, someone's gotta tell her to wash. I might be going against the grain here, but you are the a-hole. First of all, you sound jealous of her and it seems like you took this as an opportunity to put her down when she was already feeling down. Secondly, this is not the way to help your sister understand how to improve her hygiene. It is insensitive and doesn't help her improve. You simply shamed her. Lastly, by your description of your sister and how she takes care of herself, I would be asking her what is wrong. Maybe she is this way because she doesn't want a ton of male attention on her because it makes her feel uncomfortable. I've known plenty of beautiful women who do things to dress down because they don't just want to be seen as sex objects, they want to be seen as whole people. Maybe she doesn't like being sexualized and her poor hygiene is a defense mechanism. Regardless, you should ask her about it instead of shame her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling ex's fiance she can F off for asking me for decor tips? My, 42F, and my ex, 47M, divorced 1 year ago. Shortly thereafter, his girlfriend, aka affair partner, moved into the home we previously shared. I told him to keep whatever because I went to live abroad and basically just wanted out. I wasn't even mad at him for cheating. It was a dead marriage and his affair being exposed became the catalyst for our divorce. So we got divorced and she moved in. We hadn't talked after because there was nothing left to discuss post-divorce. Then a week ago I get a message from her. It was really upbeat and, oh, I like the style of the house so much. Where did you get this fixture and this pieces of furniture? I sat with it for a day and finally decided to message her that since she had it all figured out, she could figure it out. She asked what I meant and I told her she obviously had everything my ex could ever want and I was the one he didn't want, so she shouldn't try to imitate me. He clearly had a taste for something different. She messaged me back saying she was trying to pay me a compliment. Then my ex texted me saying we were amicable before and he didn't understand why I was causing an issue now. He's right that we were both over our marriage, but I felt like her trying to take over where I left off aesthetically was too much. My friends and family are divided. Am I the a-hole? Edit, thanks so much for the responses and kind words. Gave me the clarity I needed and some thoughts about the situation that hadn't occurred to me. Went ahead and blocked them both. May they live long and lucky in their tastefully decorated home. I'm still reading through responses, so if I need to update or clarify, I will later on. Thanks y'all. Top comments. Sounds like she's trying to make friends. Which is pretty messed up, to be honest. I would go ahead and block her. And if your cheating ex doesn't have any reason to be able to contact you, like shared assets or children, I would go ahead and block him too. Just because you're not mad, or weren't mad, that he cheated, doesn't mean he didn't do something awful and it doesn't mean he's a good person to have in your life. Much like his side chick. Not the a-hole. That is just plain weird. Why would your husband's affair partner even think you would want to talk to her? She contacted you over nonsense, she deserved whatever you chose to tell her. Not the a-hole. I think I would have answered her with absurd answers such as the lamp was from the side chick boutique, the sofa was from the furniture body house, and the rug was from the secret affair store. So no wonder you like it. She wants something, but it's not decorating advice. I suspect she thought complimenting you would give her an opening to ask about whatever she really wanted to know/pursue. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they had to sell my vehicle back to me? My parents love all their kids. They just have a soft spot for my somewhat useless brother. He can't win. He is almost 30 and he has never had a steady job. Just a series of Joe jobs. Wearing a name tag and a hat. Whenever I buy myself a new car, I give my old one to my parents. I could trade them in, but I can afford to help my parents out. My cars are usually 6 years old and maybe have 30,000 miles. I rarely drive. The last car I gave them was a Jeep Patriot. It was loaded. I could have traded it in for $9,000. Instead, I sold it to my dad for $1. He had it for 6 months before he gave it to my brother. My brother sold it for $12,000. I could have done that. My whole idea was for my parents to have a good car with no maintenance issues. I just got a new Bronco, so I talked to my parents. I said that the only way I would give them the Ram was if we had a contract stating that if they sold it in the next 5 years they had to sell it back to me for $1. They said that I was treating them like children and that once it was their truck they could do whatever they wanted. I agreed that was fair. I sold my truck privately and got $27,000 for it. I used that as part of my purchase of my new Bronco. My dad saw my new vehicle and asked when I was going to drop off the truck. I told him I sold it. Him and my mom are upset because they are now driving a 12-year-old Kia crap box. That's not really my problem. I tried to help them and it wasn't good enough for them. My parents think I went back on my word. I never promised them anything. I only ever offer them a deal. Top comments. Your parents are taking you for granted. You owe them nothing. It's crazy they say they can do whatever they want with it, but you shouldn't do what you want with it. That's nuts. It doesn't even make sense. Of course you're not the a-hole. They should realize how lucky they've been. Maybe now they will. Not the a-hole, the fact they gave your car away is already disrespectful in my opinion. NTA, it's your property, you paid for it. Throw the words back in your old man's face. I own it, I can do whatever I want with it. If you can't trust your parents not to go and give your brother another crutch, then don't. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling her to stop spending $45 on burgers weekly? My M42 sister-in-law, 33, recently started selling burgers on Saturdays. She works a 9-5 Monday through Friday office job with a good salary, but she recently discovered she is pregnant with her ex's baby. He is no longer in the picture, so she is selling burgers for extra income. Now, every Saturday my wife, 40, buys burgers for our family, 3 kids, 12, 10 and 8. My issue is that my sister-in-law sells every burger for $9. So 5 burgers is $45. The burgers are tasty, don't get me wrong, but she is using my mother-in-law recipe, that my wife also knows, so I don't see why we should spend $45 weekly on burgers when my wife can make identical ones at home and we would spend less money on ingredients. To be clear, technically we can afford a sales burger comfortably, I just don't see why we should when there are cheaper options. I try to talk about it with my wife and she said she mostly buys because she wants to support her sister. I told her it's not our job to support her sister. Besides, as I said, the burgers are tasty and every weekend they are sold out in a couple of hours, so I don't think losing our 5 burgers would put a dent in her business. Yesterday I told my wife again we shouldn't buy burgers, and she asked me why I cared if she was buying them from her money, not our money. We have each an accountant, and one joint account. I told her it's not about that, I just don't think it's sensible to spend $45 every weekend on burgers when she already knows the recipe. She said she will be spending $36 then, because she won't be buying mine anymore if it bothered me so much. That's exactly what she did. She bought burgers for our kids and her, and didn't buy one for me, which okay, anyway I got a Big Mac for cheaper. So I thought we were okay, but she has been acting as if she is mad at me since yesterday. I fail to see why she is mad. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. You are the a-hole. I was going to say not the a-hole until I got to the part where you say that you guys have separate accounts and a joint account, and she is buying the burgers from her own money. We aren't buying the burgers. She is. From her separate money. Does she micromanage how you spend your money? What if she instead just gave her sister $45 a week from her own money, in exchange for no burgers? What business is that of yours? White Tim a pretty okay cook. I make something we call fapadal. It's just as good, spouse says better but I don't know about that, as Chipotle. It's generally cheaper too. But you know what, sometimes I want the damn thing without the work. It's hot, there's lots of moving parts and I just want something delicious without all the dishes and counter wiping and children interrupting. So we get Chipotle. It's not straining your finances. It's not your money. You have not offered to do the work yourself as far as I can tell. And rather going to some evil multi-billion-dollar corporation, the money goes to your sister-in-law who needs it. I genuinely do not see how you can have a problem with it other than just wanting to argue. So you could have had a free, gourmet burger that benefited a family member, but you spent your own money to buy a crappy corporate burger that benefits some billionaire, and somehow you think you won. Yeah, you are the a-hole here. You are the a-hole for trying to dictate how she spends her own money when, as you said, she can comfortably afford it. I get where you're coming from in this, but she's not just making a dumb choice about food just because. She's trying to financially support her struggling sister in a way that doesn't feel like charity. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to financially support my sister because she chose to become a single mother? I, 32M, have a sister, Emily, 34F, who has always wanted to be a mother, but she hasn't been able to find the right partner. After years of waiting, I suggested she consider IVF treatment. I even helped her research the process and find clinics. She loved the idea and decided to go ahead with it. Emily had the financial means to afford IVF on her own, but it meant she had to cut back on creature comforts and luxuries for the foreseeable future. 2 months ago, after her 4th round of treatment, she got pregnant. The whole family is very happy for her and she's happy too. She didn't expect it to take so many rounds of treatment, though, so the bill ended up higher than she was prepared for. She does have enough money to support herself, but not very comfortably. She asked our family for help so she wouldn't have to make even more sacrifices. Our parents are retired and living on a fixed income, so they can't contribute much. This leaves me as her main source of potential financial support. Last week Emily sat me down and asked me for money. I have no issue with people choosing to be single parents if they can afford it. But I don't believe it's fair to ask others to finance such a personal choice, especially when there are significant long-term financial commitments involved. I have a wife and a newborn son. While we do have some extra money, we're using it to keep our own little family comfortable and save for a bigger house, currently live in a single-bedroom condo. I told Emily that I wouldn't be able to help her foot the bill. Emily was heartbroken and furious. She argued that family is supposed to support each other and that I'm being selfish and judgmental. Our parents are also upset with me, saying that I'm not being a good brother. They think I should help her because she's family and this is her dream. They're especially upset because it was my idea and I helped her research it. I offered to help Emily by letting her eat dinner with us nightly since she lives nearby and letting her use my car, which is cheaper to run since it's electric. She said that's not nearly enough. I have my own family to think about and financial goals to achieve. I feel it's unreasonable to put myself in a difficult financial position for something that is Emily's personal choice, even if I initially suggested it. So am I the a-hole for not supporting her financially? ETA, my sister is a homeowner with a slightly bigger house than mine, making slightly more money than I do. She can absolutely afford a child. She took from savings to pay for the 4th round of IVF and is rebuilding it as fast as possible by not spending. It isn't like she didn't budget, she just doesn't like being frugal. She also did take me up on the offer to temporarily trade cars and eat dinner with my family nightly. IVF was not my first suggestion. She wouldn't adopt because she wants a biological child. She did not use donor IUI because she wanted PGT done to ensure she'd have a boy because that's what she's wanted since high school. I was not involved in her treatment or consultation and I don't agree with her decision. I helped her research because I was trying to be a good brother. Top comments. She can move in with her parents. Opie replies. Our parents are living on a fixed income like I said. She has already asked them for help but they have less to spare than I do. Not the a-hole for not financially supporting your sister. All of you are significant AHs for encouraging and supporting your sister's dream to be a single parent without considering the costs of IVF plus the costs of raising a child. She's 34 years old. Does she understand what a budget is? Does she have a job that can support 2 or more? A big enough home? Daycare and babysitting plans? Sounds like she has about 7 months to figure it out. Your parents aren't in a position to give her money, but what can they do? Child care? Share a home so it's cheaper for all of them? You are still working on getting a bedroom for your own child. Opie replies. My sister is a homeowner with a bigger house than mine, making more money than I do. She can absolutely afford a child. She took from savings to pay for IVF and is rebuilding it as fast as possible by not spending. It isn't like she didn't budget, she just doesn't like being frugal. I don't understand the logic either. Not the a-hole. It's not your fault that she went for 4 rounds of IVF. She should have stopped when she couldn't afford it anymore. Who goes to the doctor with a blank check? She was irresponsible and it's not like she's about to be homeless, she just has to make cuts. You have a family to support. The moment she became entitled to your money is where she lost any sympathy for me. You are not her baby daddy, she did this to herself. If she can't handle this level of responsibility now, how is she going to handle real parenthood? I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.